It is becoming more and more evident that Canada can no longer afford Trudeau. His policies, his unwillingness to answer a question, do the right thing, it is leading Canada down the wrong path, and even young Canadians now are starting to lose faith in Trudeau. He's losing his liberal voter base. Everybody is realizing that he is running things into the ground and that he has to go. In today's video, we have two big things that are happening, one of which is an update on the housing crisis, what's going on, how Canadians are feeling. It's getting more expensive than ever to be a homeowner or even a renter. And then, of course, we do have a video of Pierre and Trudeau going back and forth. Of course, Trudeau was incredibly frustrating. He couldn't just answer a question. He brought up nonsense. And again, this is our leader, guys. We know he has to go. Listening to his answers are important because we realize how he doesn't care about Canada. Let's get into today's video.
An increasing number of people in this country are giving up the dream of owning a home. An Ipsos poll done exclusively for Global News shows 8 in 10 Canadians believe owning a home in Canada is now only for the rich. It is up 11 points from a year before. More than half of the people surveyed said they are considering co-ownership to afford a home.
That's sad to hear that 80% of people feel that just owning a home is only for the rich. We'll get into some of the stuff later about how Trudeau is impacting this, but still.
Half of those polled don't think enough housing will be built to keep up with demand and think immigration will continue to drive high demand. 8 in 10 Canadians feel that owning a home is only, basically for those who don't own a home yet, it's only for the rich. It doesn't bode well for the future, does it?
Yeah, up 11 points. And remember, this is a poll that was done after the federal budget that was supposed to speak to this issue. And the people who are feeling this most are younger Canadians. Now, the interesting thing in all of these data, because we asked a lot of questions about it, was it's not just that people have given up on the idea of owning a home. They think it's only for the rich, but also that they believe it's very difficult to be personally financially well off if you don't own a home. So it's not just that you have to change your expectations about the place that you're going to be living in. It's that you're really feeling you're imperiled. Your financial future is imperiled if you don't own a home.
And that's true, right? Like, true from a mindset perspective. Like, it's difficult to feel comfortable knowing like you're renting a space that's owned by somebody else. Are they going to sell it? You know, what's going to happen? You're not fully in charge of your financial future. And it's a little bit tougher, like when you're in that position. And I know for a fact, like, young Canadians, for people I'm friends with, a lot of them have just written off home ownership entirely because they're like, it's impossible. There's no way to get in. And these are people who voted for Trudeau, not once, but twice. And now they're saying to me, you know what? I just can't see myself ever voting for him again at this point. He's got to go. And like, we're really seeing a major pendulum change. And if you are curious about home ownership or you're thinking about buying or selling a home, I am a real estate agent in London, Ontario. Reach out to me in the link below. We can handpick somebody in your area all across Canada. You work with somebody in my team. We have creative solutions to help people get into the market. Just knowing that 80% of people have written it off. It's just so sad to see that we're in this position, and they said it earlier. It's because of immigration. Like, I'm surprised Global News said this, but we know we can't outbuild, and they'll talk about this in a second. We cannot outbuild the immigration levels.
So it's a very difficult mix of things that are going on when it comes to the cost of living today, but also the effect that this is having on what people think about what their financial security is going to be in the future.
So with that said, and I know we touched on it earlier this week when it comes to the government's polling, and a lot of people look to the government for help in this. Of course, that's not an exclusive problem for them to solve because there are larger economic issues, of course.
It is actually for them to solve because it's one of our major things dragging us down economically. Our productivity's down. Canadians can't afford to rent. They can't afford to buy. We're in all these issues where it's like, yeah, this is pretty substantial. We shouldn't be spending this much time on it. But we know for a fact, again, the federal government has the lever of immigration. Cut it back to 2015 levels. We're not even saying zero.
But when you look at what does this represent overall for this year, for the next year and the coming years as people try to look towards the future in terms of for this government and even a future government in terms of how to respond to this?
Yeah,
thoughts?
To all governments. I mean, normally people say, is it a federal responsibility, provincial responsibility, or municipal responsibility? It's all governments' responsibilities. But the one that they're turning to more than any other right now is the federal government, because they've said that they're going to do something about this. And when you ask people whether or not their expectation is that the government can, that's declined. And also that we will actually be able to meet the demand for housing over the space of the next year, that's declined. So we're in a very difficult circumstance for anybody who's involved in public service right now when it comes to dealing with this specific issue.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, that anger is certainly palpable across the country. And right now, as you are watching, the anger is being quantified. You're looking at those numbers, and we're seeing that.
They're getting smoked in the polls, and it's because people have lost faith entirely. But not only that, they're going to keep the demand high. And the fact is, Trudeau's housing numbers are built around us outperforming our best year ever. So to put that in perspective, our highest building year ever has to be doubled for us to hit Trudeau's housing numbers. Do you guys think Trudeau's going to hit those housing numbers? Comment down below if you think we're even going to hit half of those numbers, because I don't think we're going to hit it. But let's get into this video. I think this is important to hear.
Prime Minister legalized smoking meth in hospital rooms, shooting up heroin in parks next to children, using hard drugs on public transit. The British Columbia government has asked him to reverse this legalization for parks, hospitals, and transit. Will he? Yes or no?
The opioid epidemic is hitting families, communities, and individuals right across this country, and has for many, many years. That's why we are continuing to use an approach grounded in compassion, in public safety and public health, and facts-based decisions. We responded to British Columbia government's asking for a pilot project. We will, yes, work with them to adjust it in ways that they see fit. It's important to make sure that BC continues to do the things that it needs to do to keep people safe in its jurisdiction.
Bill refuses to answer the question on whether or not he will reverse himself. He made the decision to exempt hard drugs from the criminal law so that it became legal to smoke meth or crack in a hospital room, including around nurses who are breastfeeding their kids. This has caused chaos, and 6 British Columbians are dying every day that he delays. So will he announce that as of today, he's changed his mind and he's reversing his legalization of hard drugs in BC? Yes or no? There is no time to waste. The BC government asked him to reverse his legalization of crack, heroin, and other.
If the BC government is asking them to reverse it, it's a problem. Those guys are wild, letting people do whatever they want. So it's like, if they're saying this is a problem we need to stop, yeah, Trudeau, it needs to stop.
Other hard drugs in public places on Friday. Every day, 6 British Columbians die of overdoses under this policy, and many more die as a result of drug-induced crimes. So there is no time for bureaucratic and political considerations. Will he announce now that his experiment with legalizing hard drugs in BC is over? Yes or no?
You will understand if I take it with a little skepticism when the Leader of the Opposition says this is not about politics, because he has been the one that has been pointing out vulnerable people and trying to pursue ideological aims on this ongoing.
He always does that. Oh, well, this is ideological and the poor vulnerable are going to be suffering. He always does that. It's this appeal to, like, why are you guys so mean? It's like, well, we need the changes, major changes. People are dying. Drugs are being done in hospitals. And he goes, oh, the less fortunate. They always do that to try and make you look bad because, oh, you hate the less fortunate, don't you?
Public health crisis. We have consistently stepped up to work with provinces, with municipalities, with jurisdictions, indeed, including by moving forward with British Columbia as they wanted to try a pilot project that we are working with them to adjust in ways that make sense. We understand the urgency and we will act. But given the new, more reasonable tone of the Leader of the Opposition, I wonder if he might take this opportunity to reassure Canadians that he does not support extremist white nationalist organizations like Diagalong, nor wants their votes.
That is false.
Trudeau. People are dying. They can't afford groceries. There's actual real problems happening in Canada. Nobody's heard of what he's talking about. Like, they keep bringing it up. It's like, I've never heard of it in my entire life until Trudeau says, oh, and what about these groups that he keeps talking? What groups? They're not even real. Like, we have people starving. Axe the tax. Do stuff that is important that'll help Canada. Oh, what about Alex Jones? Nobody cares. Even the Liberals are like, what are you talking about? We have real problems.
False. And furthermore, there are 6 people dying every day in British Columbia. There is a 380% increase in overdose deaths in that province under this Prime Minister's legalization and subsidization of hard drugs. Enough trying to score political points over the issue. Do the right thing. It is on his desk. Will he announce today that he has changed his mind and reversed legalization of hard drugs? Yes or no? And worse still, he's now considering decriminalizing hard drugs in Toronto. The City Hall has made a formal request for him to use powers under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act to do in Canada's biggest city what he already did in British Columbia. Today, I wrote him a letter asking him to change his mind and reverse his position and make clear that he will not legalize hard drugs on buses and in hospitals in Toronto.
That would destroy Toronto.
Fortunately, we see fear-mongering going on by the Leader of the Opposition right now. I will recall for people that a number of years ago, the city of Vancouver approached us with a desire to decriminalize in their city, and we said, no, we would not do that for Vancouver. We work with provinces and public health systems. That is why we moved forward with British Columbia on a pilot project they wanted. In regards to any other province, whether it be Quebec or Ontario or anywhere else, we will work with the governments in place on proposals they may or may not have to deal with the opioid epidemic. That's all.
Yeah, so basically you're saying, no, we won't just do it for Toronto. We'll do it for all of Ontario.
But the Leader of the Opposition has not answered Canadians' concerns about why he will not condemn Diagalon, the far-right extremist organization, why he will not reject the endorsement of Alex Jones, noted conspiracy theorist.
He has not.
Trudeau, you just talked about fear-mongering, and then you have the audacity to bring up nonsense that is just fear-mongering. Literally, you just fear-mongered so aggressively on a nonsense topic. There is an immigration problem, crime skyrocketing, and we have extortion gangs in multiple provinces. There is a federal manhunt for an extortion group, mostly one guy from Edmonton, that's federal because he's on the run. He's an immigrant to Canada, he's running an extortion ring, and he is on the run because of the crime that he's done. And that's a federal-wide manhunt. You're now talking about internet Twitter nonsense because of what? Oh, man.
Not answered the question whether he would expand decriminalization elsewhere. He's using vague references to jurisdictions, but it's his jurisdiction alone to grant exemptions under the Controlled Drug and Substances Act. So, will he admit that his real plan is to take the decriminalization of hard drugs that he imposed on British Columbia and do that in all the provinces and territories across the country?
No, Mr. Speaker. I think for 8 years, for almost 9 years now, Canadians have seen that our approach on the opioid epidemic is grounded in public safety, in public health, in compassion, in funding frontline workers, and doing things that work to save lives and help people. And it is
Compassion, Not in reality. Compassion. We're just helping the less fortunate do drugs.
Not to have some sort of secret plan as he proposes. But if he wants to talk about secret plans, he would probably do well to actually clear the air for Canadians about his seeking for support amongst members of extremist right-wing organizations like Diagolon.
Okay, you can keep making up nonsense, Trudeau. He doesn't have to answer it. The problem is, if Pierre answers it, he's now acknowledging that it's a thing, that it's a problem. He can't do it. So anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, I am a real estate agent in London. If you want to work with me or my team all the way across Canada, reach out to me in the link below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and have a great rest of your day.